Well, I think it's fair to say that woman, for the man, when you're in the presence of a woman, this is when you feel the most as a man or not as a man. Because of the very nature of her being, her polarity, she's the opposite of you. So when you're in a relationship with a woman, it highlights your manhood. Everything about your manhood. All its strengths, all its potentials, all its weaknesses, all the places you've decided to quit, where you're lying to yourself, where you're honest with yourself, what you've gained as strength. That's what a woman brings to a man. And it's the same for the women and vice versa, but we're talking to men. But it's the same. She's literally the opposite of you. What's the opposite of night? The day. What's the opposite of a man? The woman. So the relationship with women, which is so fundamental, listen, you need air, water, food, shelter, the basics to survive. But why are you surviving? In order to fulfill a function, which is to technically perpetuate yourself in time. And let's say that human beings are a little more complex than animals, so that you're going to fulfill a specific function, which is not just dig hole, find food, eat, and just continue to replicate a very basic function. Human beings ground the empire of life itself and its expression, right? So whatever form of human being you are, you have a function which is akin to I go dig for this, but it's the human, so it's much more complex, much more layered, much more grand. I think it's undeniable. But if I'm that, then it means my progeny is the continuation of that. So in the olden days, they understood this. If I've been a blacksmith for the past 50 generations, how good will my son be as a blacksmith? So there was an understanding, even though we can say there's limits and it was abused and whatnot. So as a man, you need the basics of nature in order to fulfill your function in the great story of man, capital M, or humanity if you prefer. And then your next issue is, I need to reproduce. Because death is upon me. And she's the gateway to infinity. I'm going to say it again. Woman is the gateway into infinity on the horizontal plane. Without her, you do not replicate. It's the end of you. It's the end of the story. And this correlation between man, woman, which is sexuality, and I've said it before in previous videos, sexuality equals death. If there was no death, there would be no sexuality. Sexuality is for the purpose of reproducing, producing again. If you are eternal, there's no need for sex. If your body never dies, why fuck? What's the point? There's no need. So there's an intimate relationship between man, woman, sexuality, and as I've said, sexuality equals death, and that the act of sexuality is what allows for life to propagate itself on the horizontal plane. So this is the core of the relationship. I'm going to say it one more time. Man, woman, death, sexuality. This is the most fundamental aspect of life. The greatest fear in every single human being is death. No matter what they say, no matter what they pretend, unless you have died while living and have made this, you know how to master this, death is your greatest fear. It's unconscious for the most part. But every action that you do is to avoid death. Every action your organism does is to avoid death. Even every action you do, because we've become very psychological creatures, is to avoid death at a psychological level. Everything we do is to avoid death. It's the basic instinct, you need to not die. In sexuality, it represents, it's inevitable that I'm going to die in 20, 40, 50, 100 years, 5,000 years, it doesn't matter. And that's the gateway to not dying. So you understand how powerful that relationship is. So when you're now confronted with the agent of replication, the agent of giving me the passage to the next life, on a horizontal point of view, right? Well, life itself or the nature is going to say, well, why should I replicate you? That's the first thing it should ask. Like if any intelligent organism who has to expend resources. If it's a business, well, why should we do this? Is this a good product? Do people buy that product? Is it efficient? Is it sustainable? Does it help the overall? That's an intelligent business. So now you as a man, here you are. And nature, which is represented by the female, has to now determine, should we replicate this idiot? In other words, is he a man? Which brings us to the definition. Well, what is a man? What is the function of a man? What's a man supposed to do? What's the power of a man? And how does that tie to something greater? That's what she represents in silence. Now, with all due respect to any person or every person who speaks about man-woman relationship, have you heard this before? I doubt. This is the fundamental dimension. That's the most prime. It's like taking a shit. It's the most basic thing. I got to make it vulgar to make it simple for your brain to understand. This is the most basic thing. And for some people, this is deep. This is not deep. This is so basic. So she represents for you a test. It's nature in her saying, are you worthy of being replicated? Meaning, what did you do with what you had? Did you develop it? Did you cultivate it? Did you grow it? Did you use it to serve? Me, meaning the goddess, that means nature. Did you serve others with the value I gave you? You have an inherent value. Did you cultivate it? Did you grow it? Did you bring it in relation to others so that it becomes more? And did you fulfill your function, which is to help create the kingdom of God on earth? If you don't understand what the kingdom of God means, it's irrelevant. You don't have to understand it. That means something greater than ourselves. Because the human being is the only creature on earth who's able to do something greater than itself. The raccoon doesn't do anything great besides surviving and being, well, arguably cute. That's all it does. Human beings are the only ones that can bring their forces together and build something infinitely greater than themselves. Let's call that the kingdom of God or the kingdom of life if you'd prefer. So that's what her womb represents. So that's why I say, do you think you can cheat her? It's built into her womb to be able to determine who you are. You can never cheat it. It's her basic function. Now, that basic function may be corrupted. That basic function may be rotten. That basic function may be covered up with societal standards of bullshit. All of that, it doesn't change. It's still there. Right? It's always there. And even though it cannot express itself necessarily purely, it will express itself through all the different layers of filth, layers of conditioning. It's still there. So if we live at surface land and she looks like a Barbie, she's looking for a Ken. Yeah, but what's looking for Ken? That fundamental primary, I'm looking for, are you worthy? So that's why it's challenging for a man to be in a relationship. That's intelligent, honest men. That's why it's the most important relationship. And that's why men do everything in their power to be quote unquote worthy of the woman. Even though now they want to pretend that they don't care. Because she determines if you get to pass or not. Now, of course, if you're obsessed with her, you don't pass, obviously. Because if you're obsessed with her, then technically you're obsessed with mom. You're trying to go back up to her womb instead of developing and cultivating your inherent intrinsic value and growing it, which then gives her pass or no pass. See what I mean? So what the guys in the manosphere is saying is not false. It's shallow, but nevertheless it's true from a point of view. But now what your average guy does is now they understand that program. Okay, so now I have to do be in my things, and then they force themselves by self-hypnotizing themselves to be in their things in order to be able to trick the surface layer of that stupid woman. But you can't trick her at the womb level. You can never trick the womb. You understand? It is nature's most basic instinct. You can't lie to it. You can't cheat nature. People think they can cheat nature. That's why y'all worship science. You think you could cheat nature. You think you could cheat death. You think you could cheat disease. You cannot. You can just remove its symptoms. Underneath, it's rotten. And it's going to catch up to you. And there's nothing you're going to do to stop it. No matter how powerful your science becomes, it'll catch up to you, even if it has to implode. So the relationship between a man and a woman is a very complex one, and at the same time very basic. Both are shining to one another. Well, who are you? But because men are so weak and so confused, they don't ask much from the woman. They're so desperate for the addiction, for the high, for the illusion, that they don't ask of the woman, where's your womanness? How? So let's say now I'm a pass. I'm 100%, I'm an A+. Right? So now I'm looking for a worthy factory to replicate me. How are you going to replicate me? You're dirty. The pieces here are dirty. This is broken. This factory is half functioning. It's filthy. It hasn't worked in God knows how long. It's tried to do all these products. None of them works. Oh, now you're starting to be the man too. Because now as a man who comes into their own power, you now expect from her to also do her job well. But because you can't come into your power, you never really expect that from her. What you think she's there to provide is getting high. Because you're a drug addict, and we've covered this before in today's flow. You getting high is you trying to avoid a disease inside of you, your weakness. You don't understand that she has a function, and that function is to proliferate you. So when you, let's say I want to buy a business, and I'm going to buy a business that already exists. So I'm going to go check out the factory, see how it's working, how the machinery, how's the plan, does it have a business plan, what are the numbers? I'm going to select the appropriate, now this is not a good business, I'm going to fail with this one. Or it's going to take too many resources to fix it up. I don't want to invest, I want a key in hand. I'm buying this, it works. Or, okay, fine, I'll refurbish this. I can invest 100 grand here. I can invest a little bit of this. And if everything works out properly, because there's always a factor of risk, it's going to generate 7, 8 figures. Wonderful. It's a good deal. Yeah, but that's how you think as an entrepreneur. Yeah, but why aren't you thinking like this with your dick when you're meeting a woman? What is she bringing to the table? Yeah, but that would imply that you understand what her power is. And most of you don't. You don't understand the power of the woman. For you, a woman is pussy and pleasure. You don't understand the power of the womb and its intimate relationship with the psyche. That means the unconscious realm, what's invisible. Its intimate relationship with the cycles of nature. And even those of you who think you understand, it's very robotic manhood, one linear woman, reproduce children. Nah, that's the scratch of the surface. It's not children she's making. She's replicating the God, you, in the name of nature, in order to build something even greater. Come on. So, the relationship between a man and a woman is a complex one, because at least let's keep it simple. For the man, she's showing you yes and no. And sometimes, because she needs to eat, she'll pretend that she's saying yeah. But in reality, her womb is saying no. Or she'll give you pussy because she needs to eat. But she wants nothing to do with you. In other words, she never really opens and never truly reveals to you, her power. She doesn't want to give you her power because you're not worthy. But she gave you pussy, it's empty pussy. She gave you her titties, it's empty titties. Oh, you know techniques that make it act like if she's relaxed. No. You can't cheat. You can't cheat nature. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. You cannot cheat a woman. You cannot cheat the womb. You can try to hack into it, just like you can fuck around with nature on the outside. Nature didn't open herself to you. Nature hasn't revealed her secrets, her true secrets to you. You're just an arrogant, pompous, pseudoscientific prick. The thing that with your intellect you can pierce through the secrets of life. Get the fuck out of here. No, you can't. You're only at the surface. You can't see the meaning. Anyways, to wrap it up, the relationship between the man and the woman, in my humble opinion, and it's a fact, it's the very essence of the Genesis. The book of Genesis is what? God created everything. Then he made man. Then he made woman. And that's the start. Well, what does that say? Right? Whether you like the story or not. Well, the foundation of the entire human experience is man and woman. And we're in a current situation today, and man is in a very particular state, woman is in a very particular state, and it's very now difficult for the man to engage with a woman. It's also very difficult for the woman to engage with you because you're a fucking loser. You don't even know up from down, and it's your job to know up from down. Let's not get into that. And of course it's going to be painful because she's going to constantly highlight, even subtly, even psychically, especially psychically, that you're not a man. And no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you're Tom Brady, you ain't satisfying her. Well, why? Because you're not doing it. You're not reaching that level of manhood. You're a gladiator. You're not free. Yeah, but the whole world chants your name. It doesn't fucking matter. You're a slave. You're a slave that everybody cheers. You're not a free man. And what is the definition of a free man is another thing you can't understand. You think you can achieve freedom in this world. No, you can't. You can only achieve freedom in Dharma. And that's a very deep concept. We'll talk about it some other time. We've spoken about it before. So of course a relationship with a woman is complicated. Of course a relationship with a woman is nothing but pain because your current status of man is broken. There ain't nothing wrong with the broken. You need to unbreak yourself. You need a medicine man. You need some help. You need to heal. Fine. But of course it's pain. And no matter how much you try to pretend that you're not broken, she knows. The womb knows everything always. It's designed to know everything always. It cannot not know. It's made to know. It's the knower. You can't cheat it. You don't even understand what the fuck I'm saying. Wonderful. So, just a side tangent before I finish. It's not a tangent. It's like just a branch to what I wanted to say. So what did I say? The fundamental relationship between the man and the woman is the essence of the human experience. Now, of course, like I said in previous videos, if you want to enslave the humans, you have to make this and this, the man and the woman, completely in disharmony. You have to promote disharmony. And you have to confuse both as to who and what they are to such an extent that they can never come together. The anguish is so intense that the moment you bring them together, it just wants to explode. They don't want to talk to each other, and that's the only way they found to appease the pain from their encounter. That and wine. Of course it's normal to feel like this. Of course it's totally, like I just told you, how could you not feel anguish when you're in the presence of the feminine that highlights your manhood? This is literally what it does. So when I'm in the presence of a woman, the more she's a woman, the more it highlights manhood. That means where I'm man, where I'm not man. So in the olden days, a young boy who's growing up to be a man, he's not going to go hang out with little girls. He's going to go hang out with women so that they can help him learn. Because they know manhood, because they're women. They technically, in a sane world, they would already have met men. So they will never entertain the young man's charade. Never. They're not going to abuse him either because they're little drug addicts, right? They're going to laugh at him, not in a negative way. In a kidful, come on. That's not going to work. I've had women teachers. I came with all my charms and whatnot. She just look at me and you're like, it's not working. Because she can see through it. What did I say? She didn't do it she didn't use it to crush me. What did it immediately do to me? Oh, that's not working. Why am I doing this? To compensate for that. That's it. Instantly I knew where my weakness was. She instantly showed it to me just by looking at me. She didn't even say a word. But this woman had so much experience that there was no, and I wasn't in my teens. I was in my late 20s. No. So once upon a time, in a sane society, boys are going to go meet women so that they can have a bouncing board. No. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's cute. That can grow. And with their psychic powers can entice you and encourage you to grow in a way that's very different than men amongst themselves. As men, we're hard amongst ourselves. We laugh at each other. We tease each other. We bring that competition aspect, which is necessary. But women, they don't do it like that. They encourage you. That's a sane woman. If she's not a sane woman, she's going to eat you while giving you the illusion that you've already achieved what you haven't. A sane, healthy woman is not going to encourage you. She's not going to lie to you. She's going to say, I see that strength, but look at all that's possible. Stop wasting your time with the illusion because that's keeping you weak. Go towards it. You can do it. the way a woman can do it. That's the way a woman can teach or encourage a man. Only a woman can do it like this. Men can't offer that to men. But that would have to be a mature woman. A 15-year-old. If you're 18 and you hang out with a 15-year-old, what the fuck does she know? She's an idiot. Besides her womb that knows all, she doesn't know. Let's say I'm 15, 16, 17, 18, I have to go see a woman who's in her late 20s, early 30s, or even her 40s. A woman who's had bare children, who's seen everything. Then in her presence, I will be inspired and she can entice me in a way that only a woman can to grow in my power rather than pretend. That's not going to happen in today. Now we have MILFs. She's going to rape the shit out of you because she wants to suck your young semen so she can continue to perpetuate her lifestyle like Madonna. Shout out to Madonna. That's witchcraft. She needs to feed on you to be able to, she needs young semen to be able to push her bullshit a couple of more years. She wants to eat. She doesn't have her own life force. She hasn't cultivated her own power. Anyways, this is starting to be a little too advanced for you fuckers. Let's move on.